and Massive Human Rights and Freedom Initiative welcomes you back to this afternoon discussions and awareness and lectures as well. We thank all our listeners, especially those who watch through the uploads. And we thank them very much. For those who also have subscribed, we thank you so much. And those who have not, we ask you also to do so. And especially those who have also given us thumbnail, we thank you so much. And we want more thumbnails and the subscriptions. This awareness lectures is for everybody, irrespective of your class or whatever you think, because it is meant to abreast everybody about your rights, what you're supposed to know, and what you're supposed to expect, and what you're supposed to inform others, so that you'll be able to be aware of your rights and what the government is supposed to do and what they don't supposed to do. And in the next one, we will channel our energy to tell you where to channel your complaint and how to channel them. Well, we are back to this very exposition. Thank you very much. The aim, like I said, is to bring to knowledge that Africans have rights as human beings like every other human beings in Europe, America, Asia, as stated by United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. United Nations, to ensure that this is effectively implemented, created organs and mechanisms to protect your right as a human being under the watch of the Human Rights Council and various committees to supervise and receive complaints of abuse and violation of your right. To protect everyone's right as a human being in the world, the United Nations makes these available to all at regional level. They include the European Convention on Human Rights with more than 40 parties, including the UK, before it rebelled against European Union and exited, but still battling with formation of its human rights bills. It has also a human rights board called ECHR that can hear both interstate and individual applications. 2. Inter-American Convention on Human Rights with also a human rights court. 3. The African Charter on Human and People's Rights, created in 1982, and it has its own human rights court. It is good to inform Africans in general and Nigerians in particular that these rights are protected by international laws and are detailed in various human rights instruments and agreements. 1. The Convention on the Prevention and the Punishment of the Crimes of Genocide. 2. The International Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, established in 1965. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, established in 1966. The International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, established in 1966. The Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discriminations against Women, established in 1979. The Convention against Torture and other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment, established in 1984. The Convention on the Rights of the Child, established in 1989. The rights to self-determination and the rights of persons belonging to minority groups are protected by the Convention on Civil and Political Rights as established in 1966. They all have a monitoring committee called International Investigative Bodies established by the Security Council, the General Assembly, the Human Rights Council, the Secretary General, and the High Commissioner for Human Rights. For the purpose of complaints, the United Nations mandated the commissions of inquiry, fact-finding missions, and investigations, and they provided them with the instruments to look into the situations of serious violations of international humanitarian law and international human rights laws. Whether it does not matter if these violations and abuse of human rights have stayed a long time or happened a long time, or they happened in a short period of time, provided the violations took place. You should realize that this began since 1945 at Nuremberg. We will come to that. In addition to the rights granted to individuals, the international law has provided them with responsibilities. According to Nuremberg Charter of 1945, individuals who breaches above international law are subject to international crime or criminal offense, irrespective of the domestic legal considerations. Individual responsibility was affirmed in the Geneva Convention and put into effect by the statutes that created war crime tribunals for Yugoslavia in 1993, Rwanda in 1994, where individuals were prosecuted, convicted, and sentenced for violations, crimes against humanity, and crimes that have been established in the conventions and the treaty signed by such nations. Torture is one of the prominent amongst others. In this note, we will inform you that since 2002, the Roman Statute of International Criminal Court provides for individual international criminal responsibility. Because many countries entered bilateral, sub-regional, regional, or global agreement or treaties and they rectified above enactments or covenants and instruments, including the powers and duties allocated to such international organizations and the committees as well, and they have accepted to abide by the rules and the regulations of the covenant. They became then legally binding to all members of the state that assented to the treaties. Therefore, the international actors accepted, and whosoever breaches them are liable for breaches of international legal obligations. For the purpose of where should this be, there is what is called universal jurisdiction. The principle of universal jurisdiction provides for states' jurisdiction over crimes against international law, even when the crimes did not occur in the state's territory. and neither the victim nor the perpetrator is a national of that state. The principle allows national courts in the third countries to address international crimes occurring abroad, to hold perpetrators criminally liable, and to prevent impunity. The impunity for crimes against international law means that A, torture has occurred, 2, extrajudicial killings by bombs, battlefield weapons, area bombardments with warplanes, aerial vehicles, armored vehicles used or may have been used against the civilian population when there is no war, or when even there is war, but targets are the civilians who are armless and has nothing to do with the war or link with military incursion or
in such a case, there is no doubt
terrorist activities. C, sexualized violence in armed struggle or any incident that will make the military, the police, any official armed government agent to have sexual violence against the girls or ladies within the community. D, crimes against humanity and the human rights violations. These are the major crimes that are of international standard and that are covered by international laws, human rights laws, and humanitarian international law. The question is, who may be the perpetrators in government level? Because dictatorship in military and democratic governments violates human rights in their domestic government, because dictators do not honor the human rights of their citizens. They fail to adequately uphold their human rights commitments, whether through complicity or self-interest politics and or power intoxication. Dictators and repressive regimes often assume that they will enjoy impunity for prosecuting opposition activists, brutally suppressing peaceful protests, and sexually abusing women. Because of egoism and the intoxication of such powers, they thereby violate human rights of the citizens and abuse the power bestowed to them by the same citizen. The citizens have rights in one way or the other, individually, collectively, to make such crime committed by the leaders as a complaint against them through the proper channel. By so doing, these leaders can be brought to justice after their term expires. And as such, in some cases, their immunity, which they enjoy, will be taken away from them and they will be persecuted. That is the more reason why the leaders have to be careful when you are in power, or your people elected you into office, or you took over the government by any means, and you feel that impunity is the only way to suppress the citizens, then reckon that you have a stake as soon as you leave your office, or even if it is a serious and gross violation of the rights of the people and the impunity, then your immunity can be withdrawn from you either domestically or internationally. Such courts includes domestic court, which is fear anyway, that the government of the day will influence and the judges will throw off the case or throw out the case in situation of third world countries, especially African countries. Two, where this is feared, inter-regional human rights courts also helps to fight impunity of such crimes through strategic legal interventions. In the case of grave crimes against international law, international criminal court is the best option, especially amongst the third world countries, when it involves state or state actors to challenge serious systematic human rights violations. Then there is opportunity for those indigenous people and their land taken away by violent terrorists, especially in African countries. Indigenous peoples have a special historic and cultural connections to their land. It has been established by the United Nations, by the European Union, and all sub-regional human rights councils and groups. Therefore, at the same time, they are discriminated against, oppressed, and denied their rights in most cases. And as a result, since they have been recognized by the United Nations, there is also international law that protects them, such as the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which they know they are also vulnerable. That is why they provided such laws to protect them. What do you do? What you do is the group of people, the owners of the land, may write a formal complaint letter to the state and the national governments to which they belong to request that government act effectively to return their ancestral lands and drive away the terrorist occupants within a specified period. When it fails, then a formal application be made to human rights court, especially the European Court of Human Rights. They have been very, very helpful to many indigenous people across the world. They have done it for Zimbabweans. The European Court of Human Rights has helped West Africa, Western Sahara, and also Mexico. Such goes across the world because they are there to protect and help you recover your ancestral land. Remember, European Court of Human Rights, they support the indigenous people. Note this, they support the indigenous people to recover their ancestral land. With this, we come to the end of this very awareness of your rights, politics, and what you need to know. The next, we will look in what is happening in eastern part of Nigeria, and we will see also other factors that concerns your right and the right of the people and what they are supposed to know and do in a situation where their life can no longer be granted by the state government and the federal government. We also, with this, ask you to subscribe, share our videos, give us a thumb up, and Leave your comments. Your comment is very, very important. We thank those who have left their comments and those who subscribe. We need you to subscribe to this awareness. It's not meant for any particular person. It's for the public. The public is to have this, and you become aware of your right, what you need to know, so that when anything happens to you, you can be able to state, defend, and know what to do. Massive Human Rights and Freedom Initiative will also review the extent of human rights teachings to most of the security agents in African setup and particularly in Nigeria, because this is one of the problems. Most security agents, that's including the military, the police, the state security services, the vigilantes in Nigeria and also in other African countries. We will take time to research to find out the level of human rights teachings in their various educational system, because most of these, if the security agents are aware of their human rights and the rights of the people, they will not be brutal and they will not be involved in most of the atrocities. It is time with the teachings, people will start writing complaints against torture, against violations of their rights, against any form of intimidation that is of international standard to the right channel. We will as well produce the addresses, the emails, and everything for those whose rights are violated. With this, we come to the end of this awareness. We thank you so much. We ask you to subscribe, share the videos, give us a thumb up, and leave your comments. Share to your friends. This awareness is good for everyone. It is not politically motivated. It is meant to teach and make people to know their rights. And we will as well, in this great process, inform those who have abused their citizens, the rights of the people, through war crimes, through genocide, through violations of the right of the people, through all other forms of abuses that they have committed. We will let people know where to go and take recourse. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Bye.